Okay, now let's run it back, chat. Now let's run it back. All right, so basically we'll just go over it again. A lot of things I'm gonna say the first. I think this team's gonna probably turn out the exact same standing wise. You have Rockets who retired at the end, the start of August, I should say. Then you have a lot of changes here. Mumo, Linkster, Blase, Dream, Jexay, Hureg, Meko, Blank. They all get released or they leave the team as it is right now. But also another big thing that came through with this team is that they actually got Junkbuck, which is honestly massive of a pickup for this team. And he obviously worked well with the Shock, and even in the World Cup, this guy has been one of the higher ranked coaches in the league. The signings they have of Crimzo, who was a really good flex port for the Dallas Fuel, pretty solid. I still don't understand the hate this guy got last season playing for the Fuel. You have Happy, who is a top tier hit scan player who played for the Charge for 2 seasons now, and I'm excited to see how it turns out with the Houston Outlaws. Then you have Piggy Jengu, like I said previously, we'll get to that later. You have KSF, who honestly has a lot of potential, I would say, who can play hit scan, who can play projectile heroes. He has preferred more projectile heroes on the side, but in his Overwatch League career, he's looked better on hit scan. And then you have Juby, which at the first I was not a fan of the signing, but then it slowly started to grow on me that he honestly could be solid. Like he couldn't be. I don't think he's going to be the worst. I don't think he's going to be like top of the line of main support players, but I think he's going to be all around solid. Then you have Jake, who rejoins the team, mainly going to be the coach, and he's going to be a player, which cool, I guess. That's going to be interesting. So if we look over the roster now, they have Dante, who has been a fantastic player for 3 seasons, honestly. Even when he played on the Shock, he was great. He joined the Houston Outlaws. He was great performances with his Tracer because they suffered with a Tracer player, and he ended up dominating on this team. Then you have Hydration, who played main tank last season. Very flexible player. It looks like he's coming back to play DPS. I will see how that works out. You know, who would get that DPS starting time? Is it going to be KSF? You know, Hydration. I think Dante's going to be starting all the time. I think Happy's going to be starting all the time. So I'm interested to see how Hydration and KSF turn out to be in this roster. Obviously, there'll be metas where KSF probably starts over Dante and Standing goes over with Happy as well. So Dante very flexible. Hydration's been very flexible as well. We saw that with his main tank, and even like Sword Maniac said, he can be a sub main tank, which is a good thing to have, I guess. Then you have Crimzo, who's been a solid flex port for many seasons now. I say many seasons, but he's only played 1 season. But I talk about contenders as well. He's been one of the best flex support players in contenders. And on his time with the Dallas Fuel, he really dominated on BAP, Zen, and Ana. Him coming to the Houston Outlaws is great. He gets more time in the Overwatch League to really shine. And hopefully he gets to actually shine on this team. But one of the things that holds him back is the tank line. Let's go ahead and talk about the tank line now. I know as soon as these guys got leaked, this was going to be another same season for the Houston Outlaws. Like these guys were... I don't like being mean, but these guys are probably some of the worst tanks probably could have gotten in the offseason. Like, they could probably go back and maybe get Dreamer now. Like, Dreamer could be really good for this team. Because, like, you have Django who plays main tank. He has some results here. What mainly I've seen him play at and what is his best hero at is Reinhardt. Rarely meta, but his Winston seems all right. His Arista seems all right. Like, Django, it's all right. Then you have Piggy, who also on top of that has some results. He plays off tank. Normally, he's known for Zarya, which is also on top of that rarely meta. But recently, it's been kind of meta occasionally, especially near the end of the last season of the Overwatch League. And yes, they did play for Talon, so they have some synergy together. They are a tank duo from Talon. So I'm interested to see how this. I'm really interested to see how this tank duo works out. Then you have KSF, like I said already, very flexible player. I think could have some potential moments on this team if he does get the starting spot. But I still think Dante and Happy is going to be the starting lineup with the DPS line. Then you have Jake. Cool, he's a player, but mainly going to be a coach. I wish he more got the coaching part down here. Just got an assistant coach role. Then you have Juby, like I said already, going to be a solid main support player for the Houston Outlaws. I do think. I think Crimzo and Juby is going to be a solid support duo. To be honest, as an Outlaws fan, I don't see them outside bottom 3 NA. Junkbuck might solo carry the lineup forward. Yeah, I think Junkbuck can honestly work with this team a lot. Everyone has told me that Django I should say, was the weakest link at Talon. Yeah, I've heard that too, and also my research in general. No backups. Yeah, like that's another thing with Houston Outlaws. They don't have any like backups for tank-wise. Like even supports on top of that, but I think the supports are going to be fine. Like right now as it stands, they don't have any tank backups, which I think is something they need right now. You could count Hydration if you want to, but there's not going to be many differences. Like they're not going to improve the Houston Outlaws play if Hydration was even better than Django by a little bit. Is Piggy anything special? I've heard he's meh. I've heard his Zarya is pretty cool, but anything else. I haven't heard good things about Diva. What I watched on top of that, not much Diva. So it's interesting to see how Piggy's going to work out with this team. Same thing goes with Jengu. So I'm really worried about this team tank line wise, but everything else wise is honestly solid, I would say. Like Dante's solid, like a top tier DPS player. Happy's like a top hit scan player. You have Crimzo, who's going to be a solid flex support player. Juby's going to be a solid main support player. Like everything else other than the tank line, which is very important, looks pretty weak. Then we go to the coaching. Nothing much has changed just yet. You have Coolmat, who's nice to be a GM. You have Harsh, who's worked with this team already, and he's worked with Junk Buck too on the San Francisco Shock. Like, I think this could be some good coaching wise, you know, for the Houston Outlaws. Like, Harsh and Junk Buck could be really good coaches for this team. Then you have Jake, who honestly has been doing good, like, coaching wise on stream. Man, I'm excited to see how that works out with this team, but as a player, I just don't know. I'm not a fan of him being signed as a player for this team. Obviously, I've seen some people say, like, his leadership's cool, but he needs to be in the game for that leadership to come in. You know, he needs to actually be in there calling the shots and all that. Obviously, whenever they come back, you know, in the dugout, if that ever happens again in physical games, and then you have them taking a break between, you know, maps and all that, he could have some leadership there, but like all the time in game is what you kind of want. So Houston Outlaws looking pretty bad still, I would say. Like, unless Piggy and Jengu really come through, you know, dominating in matches and not scrims, that would be your only best bet with this team. But even in general right now, waiting for this team to come through, I'm not hyping this team up that much. I think this team's still going to have almost the exact same results, being at the very, very bottom of the standings right now. So chat, I know I've seen some of y'all thoughts here, but like, what's some of your final thoughts on the Houston Outlaws here? Because I don't think they're going to be that good. I'll have to see Juby in Overwatch before I consider him being good. Even if he's good in scrims, I'm still skeptical. I'm still skeptical. I can't even say the word. Crimzo has proved that he's solid, not top tier or anything. Yeah. Bottom four, only teams you can argue they're better than is London, Paris, and Titans. Absolutely. They could potentially get upset by one of those teams for sure. I do think that could be the case. Now London's going to do better than Houston. That has some potential. I feel like London could maybe is a key word here. Maybe beat this team, but I still think Houston beats them in many positions. Yeah, I think this team still going to be near the bottom, but Vancouver, I think, still going to get dominated from this team. I don't know. Like, Vancouver still has some upgrades on this team, but I think Houston Outlaws could still win over those bottom three teams we know so far. Like, Houston Outlaws, I really just don't think they're going to be that good. Yeah, I think that's going to be with the Houston Outlaws. Like, I think we all agree, and a lot of people agree from what I've seen everywhere. Like, this team's just not going to be good all around, unless they come through as a shocker. Like, Junk Buck is still like a really good coach that could bring this team up in the standings a lot.